Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation?
So you're in this, you're going through what is the pendulum swing here in terms of your health starting to actually change? Like, what are the
Yeah.
things you're actually doing? What are you
Mhm.
executing against? What does the game plan look like?
So EMDR
And
was
also, let me ask you this, please, as
yeah.
well. What were the symptoms that were presenting then in that moment versus
Mm.
when you started executing the game plan you'll get into?
Yeah. So in that moment, I was having major swelling in my face. Like, I mean, like, I just looked like I had lumps all over my face. I couldn't get out of bed. I was so exhausted. I just wanted to lay in bed all the time. My depression was like just overtaking me. Everything felt awful. I had suicidal thoughts. Um, I knew I wanted to keep living because I had children and I had an amazing husband, but I thought, "I can't keep living feeling like this." Every joint on my body hurt. I was once a runner in college. I couldn't even hardly walk around the block, without it hurting. My hormones were just totally tanked. My sexual drive was just didn't even exist. It was like I had no hormones. And so the game plan was EMDR. So I did some intensive EMDR, lots of therapy. And then I had a major surgery in my mouth to have the implants in my mouth removed. They found a ton of infection in there. At the time, my husband and I were serving people who lived outside, who lived in our neighborhood. We were getting to know them well, becoming friends with them, inviting them into our community. And a couple of them that we, knew were safe and that we had built relationship for a while, we would let them come shower at our house. And, because my immune system was so shot, I picked up a terrible infection from one of them that when the doctors found it, they were like, "You don't have this unless you live outside or you live in a third world country. Like, what have you been doing?" I said, "Well, I have homeless people that shower in my house." He was like, "That'll do it." And so it was a huge infection that was riddled, went all into my lymph system. And so then I did high doses of vitamin C therapy and a lot of gut restore. So I had a bunch of gut infections and parasites, and so tons of herbs and different supplements to really help combat that. Had candida going on, which is an overgrowth of yeast. So we were fighting that off with diet. I changed my diet radically. I began eating all whole foods. I had to cut out gluten because I was diagnosed with celiac disease. And I began really just increasing the amount of vegetables that I ate and cut out drinking. I just began drinking tons of water. I just really started taking care of myself, plus all of the stuff that the doctor was doing. The surgery in my mouth was key. Having things in your mouth it's something that I actually ask a lot of my clients because lots of people have infections in their mouth and they have no idea. But that was a huge part of it. And then really working on stress. He just kept saying to me, "You have to, stress doesn't just go away. You have to learn to deal with it. You got to learn breathing." And so I started doing yoga really religiously. My spiritual practices really increased. I began meditating a lot with God and feeling like prayer was something that was worthwhile again. Sitting in silence, being alone. Something that was really big with being someone that had been abused is being alone was really scary because being alone with my own thoughts was so overwhelming. But as I began to heal, being alone was such a key component for this extrovert to realize that you need alone time. You need to process your thoughts and have silence. So that was a lot of what I did, and that's what I continue to do. I have a sauna in my home. Like, I have a home sauna that I get into quite often. I eat really healthy. I still enjoy life. I still have birthday cake with my kids on their birthdays, and I still celebrate. I just went to Mexico and had wonderful margaritas. So I'm not in this world of like, oh, you just get rid of anything that's bad and then you go in that direction, because then you can go super crazy in that direction of don't ever eat anything that's bad for you and don't ever have an ounce of sugar or alcohol. learning to live life balanced was like just such a huge part of the journey, to celebrate when celebration was necessary, to mourn when mourning was necessary, to be able to hold both joy and grief at the same time, that it was okay for both of those to exist. Um, Especially after losing my son. Um, I've barely touched on that. That was such a huge, huge monumental part of my story that my body just like freaked out from, because you lose something that was a part of you. And to be okay that I could celebrate my children that were here and still grieve him. Um, I know this is the long answer, but I think when you're really getting to the root of your health and you're seeing the physical sides of like needing to go after the infections, heal your gut, change your microbiome, increase your hormones. I started taking natural hormones to like boost that back up. All of those things were so necessary, but they wouldn't have fixed it all if I wasn't also dealing with the sadness and the stress. And I got off an antidepressant that I had been on for like 10 years. It was out of being forced. They thought that I had an allergy to it, and it was terrible going off of it. But now I've gone 7 years without antidepressants, and it doesn't mean I don't have sad days, but I've learned how to really use, food as medicine and supplementation and meditation. And I'm not anti-medication, please hear me, especially when we've walked through some of the hard stuff that all of us have walked through.
Hey, Unbroken Nation, we'll be right back to the show, but I wanted to let you know that you can grab a copy of my first book, Think Unbroken, Understanding and Overcoming Childhood Trauma, for free. If you go to book.thinkunbroken.com, you can download the PDF ebook version of the book and get everything that I know about the baseline of healing trauma for free, downloaded to your email right now. Just go to book.thinkunbroken.com to download your copy of Think Unbroken, Understanding and Overcoming Childhood Trauma for a PDF for your phone. Again, that is book.thinkunbroken.com.
There is absolutely a time and a place for it, but I was being forced to go off of it. So I had to figure something out. I had to figure out how to survive without it because I was being told I couldn't take it. And so I'm really grateful that I've been able to stay off of it. But if at any point I felt like it was necessary, I would absolutely seek someone out to find that help. So I always want to make that really clear, because sometimes in the natural world, there's kind of this like battle between traditional medicine and natural medicine. And I think there can be a real hugging of those two worlds. And sometimes there's a necessity for both. So